Well, fine, good afternoon, everyone. This is Patricia, and I'm traveling for history. I'm in Burlington, Vermont today, and this is Mount St. Joseph Cemetery. I'm kind of hoping to find a grave here, but even if I don't, it's still a beautiful place, isn't it? I do have some information to share with you about it, so let me get that sheet out and share it. Hang on just a moment. Alrighty, so I should point out I'm on Archibald Street here in Burlington, and that's Old Mount Calvary Cemetery behind me. I was in the, by the time you see this video, the two videos I have on the Mount Calvary Annex Cemetery will already be up for you to watch, and so it's kind of nice that if I wanted to, I could go across the street and film. Anyway, so Mount St. Joseph Cemetery has some history for you, because it wouldn't be my channel if I didn't. This was written by Leo A. Fleury of Burlington, Vermont in January 1983 for the Catholic Diocese. So it's pretty interesting material. I hope you enjoy it too. Quote, as the Catholics came to our part of the Champlain Valley to settle, there came an early need for a sacred burial ground. A final resting place was needed for their aged, their infants, and young, as well as adults, taken back to the Lord in their prime. In the previous historical writings about the Catholic Church in our area, very little has been mentioned about the church cemeteries. It is a subject upon which few people care to dwell, but yet death is a natural progression of life and a certain reality. In Burlington from 1763, when it was chartered as a town, the public burial ground was 2 acres on Colchester Avenue, now part of Greenmount Cemetery. The crowded condition and irregular plan of this original cemetery occasioned the establishment of a second cemetery. It was called Elmwood and had been used from 1794, but not laid out in an organized plan until 1813. A listing of the monuments in the latter, made in 1942, does not reveal any obvious quote-unquote Catholic families. The oldest Catholic cemetery is Mount St. Joseph, which is situated on Archibald Street and extends from Prospect Street on the east to North Willard Street on the west. The original land was obtained from Colonel Archibald Hyde, Archibald Street, in November 1830, and was for a few years the site of the first Catholic chapel in Burlington. Adjoining lots were secured, which enlarged the original lot to its present size of about 5 acres. The lower tip of this property was deeded to the city of Burlington in 1893 to extend Willard Street beyond Archibald. It's pretty windy today, hang on a moment. Beyond Archibald Street through to the lower road, which is now Riverside Avenue. Previous to 1850, there was no record Catholic burials in Mount St. Joseph Cemetery. This was the only cemetery for all Catholics in the greater Burlington area. It is estimated that during the period of 1831 to 1856, there were at least 5,000 burials. This number increased another 4,162 from 1856 to 1904. The St. Joseph Parish burial records beginning in 1850 show the burial on December 3rd of Rosalie, the daughter of Francois Xavier and Zoe Supernon Robert, who died at the age of 1 year and 10 months. During the year 1855, the cemetery was enclosed anew. The Canadian congregation contributed $334.73 for the entire south part, where there was the main gate as well as the smaller gate next to their first St. Joseph's Church. The other part of the fence on the northeast was the charge of the Irish congregation and cost them the sum of $181. On November 2nd of that year, the two congregations were gathered together with His Excellency the Bishop of Burlington, assisted by his priests and Oblate Fathers, from St. Joseph to solemnly bless the cemetery which was intended for the burial of both the Irish and Canadian Catholics of Burlington. The west part of this land was not blessed, with the northernmost part of this section fronting on the main road being reserved by the bishop for the burial of infants dying without baptism and other persons who, for grave reasons, would be excluded from the cemetery property. A few days later, the bishop held a meeting in which tentative regulations were discussed for the future use of the cemetery. In summary, a priest was to designate the grave site instead of a random choice of the parishioners as heretofore. Those who already had enclosed family lots would be permitted to continue to use them in the future. When a member of a new family, not already having a lot, died, they could enclose a new grave site with room for 2 other graves. The enclosure was to be done immediately, however, so that the next burial would be in regular order. Strangers and those who would not need a family lot would be buried at the new part of the cemetery, which would be marked off with stakes. Even though the French Catholics continued their separate worship in their church in their mother tongue, their burials continued in the one Catholic cemetery, Mount St. Joseph, until 1878. Unquote. Pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? I would think so. All right, so let's start walking carefully because that's ice right there in front of us. And hopefully I'll find the grave I'm looking for. Right, so hang on. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's see. Let's start at the downward portion because admittedly there's less snow and ice on this side. And sometimes we have to go with that, don't we now? We do. Although it's really muddy. Michel, that is a prominent name here, that is for sure. Now, this one says endowed. And endowed means perpetual care. The new. Another one that says endowed. The Valley is a family name. Well, I was mistaken, there's ice on this side. We're expecting a snowstorm with ice overnight, so not a fan of dealing with ice. Some beautiful monuments though. Aren't they gorgeous? I love this this kind with the cross on top. Of course it is leaning precariously to the left. And we can see the base of it too, sticking out. This part here, we shouldn't be able to see at all. It's the under portion of the head grave marker. Okay. Person. It's like 1862 to 1916. I love when they tell us the age. 72 years. Rest in peace. We want that for everyone, don't we? Rest in peace. The babies and the others who would be in the northernmost section who would not have been baptized and all that, and therefore wouldn't be allowed to be buried in consecrated ground. I don't know. I mean, I'm not religious. I've said this multiple videos when I'm in cemeteries, particularly or filling churches. I just think it's so sad. That they aren't worthy. Kind of a shame that the priests couldn't have baptized them so they could have a proper burial and be buried with their parents. Since I'm not Catholic, but I know I have some Catholic viewers, what do they do now with babies who die, who are not baptized? Do they let them be buried with their parents? I hope so. I mean, that's such, I don't know. Clearly I have issues with that. The mud is so prevalent that each time I take a step, my shoe tries to be dislodged. I've also slipped in the mud, so yeah. Last thing I really want is to sit in my car with a mud-laden backside, right? Yeah. Adelard Paquette, 1860-1929, his wife Ellen Kirby, 1859-1939, and their daughter Helen Amore, 1899-1927. So his wife was about 40 when she gave birth. Wow. And the father was about 39. Wow. I wonder if Helen were a miracle baby. And this headstone, or this grave rather, was also endowed. So, it means someone prepaid to make sure that their area was always clear. And depending upon what perpetual care offers, it could be just cutting the grass and clearing trees, you know, if a tree should fall on it, for instance, maybe. But depending upon where you are, it could actually mean fixing your headstones. I know that Charlotte, for their cemeteries, believes it's their duty that the living takes care of the dead. They repair the headstones. That is not common, just so you know. And the Shelburne Village Cemetery in Shelburne, Vermont, also has historically fixed headstones. That guy recently retired within the last 5 years, so I don't know if they still do that, but they did. Let's see who these people are. Wood family, Peter with his wives, Mary J. Gagnon, Mary Frechette, Florence, and Oliver. Wow. I'm guessing Oliver was a son. I'm guessing maybe Florence was a daughter. I could be wrong. I'm just saying. And then I just went over here because it's the backside we saw on the other side. Julius W. Fuller, son of M Fuller, died December 25, 1906, aged 21 years. On Christmas Day. Christmas Day. I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but my God, parents should not have been burying their children. It just shouldn't. Let's keep going down the hill. So this area is a little drier than other spots, which is good. We have Maynard. I love the color of the stone. That red granite is gorgeous, isn't it? George W., his wife Alice, the tulip. There are all sorts of tree limbs down. We had very high winds yesterday, up to 55 miles per hour, which is equivalent to 90 kilometers per hour. For those folks who watch my channel who are not in the U.S. Who is this here? Can we read it? Looks like LaBelle. I can't quite make out the rest of it. Was it Vella? Really don't know. If you can tell, please let me know. And someone's artificial flowers here. I didn't see any prohibition signs. And I came in the main entrance. Is there a safe way to get over there? Off the back. Doggone it. How'd that work? It's on the back. Right. So there's ice in this area, so with water on top, that's as dangerous as that sounds. Oh, this is a dual. I don't see this style very often, so it's always such a treat when I see it. Let me see. Rivet. And what does it say? Can I read it here? With Mari? I have no idea. Any assistance would be great. And since it's so windy today, Again, not as windy as yesterday, but since it's so windy today, I'm holding the microphone as close as I can to my mouth overall, unless I'm photographing. And I have my windscreen on my microphone, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Look at this beautifully decorated headstone. This person was apparently well loved. Looks like, the last name is definitely Vincent. Is it Philip? It is Philip. Died in 1935, aged 47 years. So young. They died in 1935. I'm just trying to figure out who would be, I mean, grandchildren? I mean, this is such care. If anyone knows, I am interested. I rarely know who is buried in a cemetery before I explore them. So that's just the way it is. You can see the river of water. I mean, whoo, slick mud. Look at that river. Do you see it? Do you see this river right here? That's insane, isn't it? My photographs are not going to do that justice. I think we know that, right? And to give you an idea of the mud, that's my footprint. See? Probably no one cares about that, but I do. Well, he was 26 or 27 when he died, and his wife lived to 1980. She very much outlived him by leaps and bounds, almost 50 years. Wow. I often wonder when people are so young what they died of. Anyone else wonder about that? Alphonse Tranquil. Alphonse is certainly an old-fashioned name, wouldn't you agree? I went to high school with a Bob Blaze. Wonder if this is any relation. I mean, Blaze is a pretty common name, but still, one never knows. Today, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Holy cow, I am not wearing my down jacket. I have a windbreaker on. A windbreaker with a hood because it's supposed to rain. Of course it is. Because it's supposed to snow. Overnight and give us ice as well. Beautiful headstone. This beautiful, this stuff right here. Isn't it lovely? But we can see with its tilt that this will topple at some point. Well, these are much newer burials, aren't they? 2010 and 1995. Holy cow. the name Bacon before. At Green Mount Cemetery, there's this humongous monument. It's quite amazing. I'll include that video in the this video, so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, this looks like an older marker here, and we'll see how old it is. You see a year on this thing. I think it's Femi. I think it's a PH. Femi and the Tulip. We saw the Tulip name earlier. Spouse of George Le Tulip, épouse. I don't know if you see this en français. Épouse. And the St. Francis Xavier Cemetery in Winooski had a lot of, because it's a French-Canadian church. Francis Xavier Church is built for the French Canadians, so a lot of French folks buried there, and their headstones showed it. Is this? Oh yeah, this is all in French. 1891. Well, not as old as I thought, to be honest. Oh, nice. Look at that puddle over there. Isn't that wild? You can practically swim in that thing. I did not see a safe way to get over there, so I'm going to film it from afar and zoom in. You can see this stone has toppled, can't we now? It's already tipped back. Looks like these are the backs of those headstones, but there's no safe way to get over there, so I can see at this time. And I don't want to be stepping in an isolated pond. We can see there's a planter of some sort here. I'm pretty sure the writing's on the front. Yep. Charles Bombard. No ice. $1900. All right. That headstone, that flat one is, I think it's a flat one, maybe it's the base. No, it's a headstone, but it's covered in slush and ice and water and all that stuff. Now, there's no death date listed for Ernest, or no, excuse me, Anna B. Sears. She could still be alive, but I doubt it highly. She'd have to be, what, 121? Yeah, no. Back. Now understand, when I'm taking photographs, it's showing me the whole item And I have found, when I look at them later, that's not the whole thing. So I don't understand why it does that. But it does. It's annoying. All right, so this is Patricia, and I'm traveling for history. We're going to continue in another video, part 2 of this, the Mount St. Joseph Cemetery. If you're liking my content, please subscribe. But until I see you tomorrow,